Thank you. Nice drive down this morning?
Yes,
Good.
sounds like it's gonna get warm again.
Yes.
Your office is there in Phillips Group?
Norton,
North. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, we have an office in Phillipsburg.
Yeah, I've seen that one several times.
Seems thick.
Yep. Thank you.
So how'd we do?
Not bad, really, I mean, to start out with. It's about revenue neutral.
Yeah, a little bad.
Okay. This, of course, is the main part with all the figures that will eventually end up in the paper. And so you can see that last year we had a valuation of 64, about 64 and a half million. Then for the current year, we went up to 67.1 million, and then for next year, we're looking at 69.788 million. So our valuation is going up each year. The revenue neutral rate is calculated based upon that 69 million to give us the same dollars that we levied in the prior year. So if we go down to the revenue neutral rate of 71.749, then that will give us the same dollars of taxes levied as in the prior year. Right now, we're sitting at about 77.67. I think, really, if you look up above, we got our home for the aged at 6 mills. We got the hospital at 6 mills. We got the noxious weed at 1.5 mills, and that's where we always try to keep those. Then our road and bridge came in just under 20 mills and 19 something, and that's kind of where it's been for the last couple of years. And then our general fund is lower than 2 years ago, but less than or more than the current year. As far as the fire district, looks like they used the same expenditures, and I was able to bring them in at the revenue neutral rate.
Good.
So no increase there. So We want to, I guess, start in the general fund. Page 7, and that's what it is in the budget packet that'll eventually go to the state. Detail starts at 7 with the general fund. And the first page is basically revenues. And so kind of one of the things I noticed was your interest income was up pretty good. And so kind of thought, well, that'll be a little bit more this year, but I don't know about next year, so I kind of dropped it back as to where it was for '23. So then the next page is the expenditures by department. And what these forms do is you take the revenues without the ad valorem tax, and then subtract off from that the expenditures, and that forces us down to our taxes that we need down there at the bottom of 7A. Then I've added a 3.5% delinquency rate coming up with the taxes that would be levied. So, now, the next page, we get into the details of the various departments.
7B.
Sit up here.
No, I'm good here. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we start with the appraisal. Does that look okay? Okay. Ambulance. Looks like that was the same, really, as the previous year. Elections. Of course, that's down a little bit, being an off year. Your major year is this year.
The 10,000 needs to be moved to equipment reserve. I must put that on the wrong line.
Okay. Okay, leaving it at 48,000 and then moving that down, okay. Commissioners, looks like very little difference, what, $40? Clerk. Treasurer. Attorneys.
On the commodities, can we change commodities to capital outlay?
Sure. Take that 2,000 and put it down there then. Okay. 109, 257, okay. Register of deeds. Looks like the same dollars as previous year. Sheriff, up just a little. Like everybody's holding pretty tight. Dispatch, that's up some. Jail care, same as previous year. Judicial, it's same as the previous year. Clerk of the court, same. Buildings and grounds, looks like that's all the same. Grant administration, I left that the same. We still need that in there.
I don't know, we never use it.
That's what I was wondering, since. So there's, if we want to reduce something, there's potential.
Okay,
Emergency preparedness, it's up a little bit, looks like.
you want to talk to him about setting up an emergency fund?
Yeah, I mean, you can wait
Okay.
or do it now, I don't care.
We'll talk in a minute.
Okay.
You might as well now, because if you need to create a line
Okay.
item, now's the time to do it.
So we had tried cutting down some of the budgets, but there's a fear of, like, if we have a fire and somebody from a different county gets hurt, we're responsible for that. So we want to be able to, we're responsible for their machines and taking care of everything. So the cost, there's no way to budget for that. And when we were trying to cut some of the budgets down or trim them down a little bit, that was the big fear. So can we create some sort of emergency fund so we can, over a period of years, build up a safety net so we can cut them down a little bit, so we can bring the budgets down, or cut, what am I trying to say?
Basically a line item.
But you're wanting to put it in a reserve
Right.
and on an
A
annual
safety
basis.
net, so that when we get the budgets, we're able to trim them down a little bit without any fear.
You know, right now, they're just putting it in wherever in their budgets. And
What's been ever left over, it goes back into general.
Yeah, that's true.
And we thought,
Yeah, and then
we'd
we,
cut their budgets and we run into,
and then when we, what's left in the general carries over and helps us in the future years to keep the levy down.
Right.
And now, as far as putting money aside for potential like that, I'm not sure there's a statute. If you're talking fire, then you gotta kind of look at your rural fire district there. And, building up maybe some money there, they can put money aside for equipment. And then, of course, obviously, if they can always bring that money back into their fire fund and use to help out there.
what we're looking at is law enforcement, ambulance, and fire.
Okay, well,
They're-
except for the fire, the
they're-
other two are, yeah.
They're not using quite a bit, but they have it in there in case something happens.
Yeah.
That's what we were trying to avoid, right?
It's a safety net that they're
Okay.
producing and keeping.
Yeah. Now,
Or, I guess what, we want to know your advice, or they want to know your advice. on
Yeah.
How best way to do that? Just
Well,
like keep it going into the general, or?
yeah, because for that type of emergency, I just don't know.
You
of,
can't predict.
We can put money aside for equipment, we can put money aside for capital outlay, which usually is your buildings and stuff. But just for some kind of emergency, I don't know of any statute. Now, there is one thing, and that is we've got built into this cash carryover of $520,000 in the general fund. And we've got that in there for 2024 and 2025. So that means we got $1 million of money that we really don't have budgeted. So maybe, if you ran into something, my thought is, okay, you're gonna have to spend it out of there, but probably, because we do have the 520,000, it would just reduce that and come out of wherever you spend it out of. But then, in future years, we're probably gonna have to reduce that projected cash carryover each year. Either that or we'll have to raise back up the levy to build that back up. But, yeah, you do have a pretty good cushion there. So that's my thought is where you would have it. And-
like our sheriff, He thought he needed 2 new vehicles, so he budgeted for 2 new vehicles. They never come in, didn't get them. And that money just went into general, then he budgeted again for the 2 new vehicles the next year.
No, it went into capital outlay. It
No,
didn't.
did.
No, he didn't move it.
I was gonna
He
say,
didn't move it.
that would have been an option to move it to his capital outlay or equipment reserve.
Yeah,
Didn't they remember coming in and telling us that?
Yeah. Because I asked him whether he transferred that at the end of the year, and he said no.
So he could have transferred that and not had to rebudget.
Yeah, it sure could have.
And that's, yeah.
And also another thing is if, we also want to keep the reserves building too. you
Yeah.
know.
You've got nice reserves. Definitely different than it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Now, a year ago, we pulled the mill levy down pretty good. Now, we're not gonna be able to do that on a consistent basis and maintain those reserves.
Well, the mill levy ought to go down this year, shouldn't it?
It depends on where you, yeah, if we go down to revenue neutral, it'll go down, the rate will go down,
Because the value of the counties.
because the
went up a
value
lot.
went up, yeah.
Yeah.
But to pull it down any further than that, I'm afraid we start pulling down our reserves. And when we get through with this, and if it's not low enough, then the only place we can is that $500 and some $1,000 cushion that I've got in there for each year, pulling that down.
Well, there's some taxpayers watch the mill levy really work hard, but they don't realize that that's really not a true, if the value of the county goes up, the mill levy goes down, the county level goes down, the mill levy goes up,
Yeah,
and they don't.
yeah,
They
and
just
so
wa-
then,
They just watch the mill levy and they go, you increased it 10 mills. Well, the value of the county went down.
Well, and I think what's gonna hurt us this year is we went below the revenue neutral rate last year, so. And cut.
Yeah.
So now this year with costs going crazy, we're probably gonna have to go above the.
I was gonna say, if you hold to the revenue neutral rate, what you're doing is you're not accounting for any inflation. And, you know, the inflation that we've had over the last few years, that, you just can't hold it there. You're just getting things tighter and tighter, and then you start to reduce your cushion and stuff, so. Okay, you wanna go on to the solid waste, landfill. And it's up some, but when you compare it back to what we spent in 2023, not a lot. Home for the A's, that, we've got another 6 mills there. So we got 6 mills as a separate levy plus 6 mills in the general fund. Courthouse general, I just left that the same. I don't know if there's,
You said there was 6 mills and a separate levy, is that for the bond?
Yeah.
okay, computers, up a little. That's one line item I'm seeing really shooting up in other counties. Okay, employee benefits. I didn't know what you was really looking at. Last year, we used a 7.75% overall increase, and that's what I put in there again. So
7.3 is what you said?
7 3/4.
7 3/4.
And it doesn't mean you got to go there, but that's what I put in there to make sure we had the money for
sorry.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I meant for that 2,000 to go on the equipment reserve.
I think, isn't it? I thought that's what you said.
Well, that's where I put it down to, is a transfer to equipment.
Exactly. Thank you for reading my mind.
Okay. And then on the health insurance, I just used 7. That's what we used last year.
Are they saying it's gonna go up?
I haven't heard anything, but, we've been getting quite a bit back that we cut it down with our reserves, so.
Okay.
And that 7 is based upon the 2023 actual, so when you compare it back to the 24 budget, it did go up all that much. Retirement, once again, I used about a 7.5% increase there over the 2-year period. Life insurance looked like we had plenty. Workman's comp, left it the same. Looks like we're good shape there. Unemployment, we're all right there, and a couple $1,000 for miscellaneous. So, Scott? What do you think on my?
I think
What I've got in there looks okay. And those are areas that are going up that you just can't control. Okay, other, recycling, got it in there at 22,000 again. Repayment of fees received, got it in there at 30,000, which might be a little high.
Is that what we're using for the landfill closure?
Other, use the same. RCND, $500 again. ROS payments, 1,500. Do we still need those?
Yeah, I can't remember where we're at on that. I think
Okay.
there's still one there.
Okay. Health department, use the
Just a
same.
minute, could we back up to recycling?
Okay,
What, we have no clue what's going on in our recycling program. 0. I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it a federal statute that we have to run a recycling?
I think it's in the solid waste plan. I mean, I haven't seen it, but that's what I'm told.
We're estimating we're gonna spend 22,000 in '24, now we're gonna spend 22 in '25,
and we only spent less than 14,000 in '23.
in
I
'23.
think that was in there because we don't know what
To expect it coming.
to expect.
I know,
Still don't know what to expect.
I don't either. I guess we can take money out of general if if we're in trouble on something like that?
Yeah, we could reduce it, and then, like I say, we could.
I'm not
use-
saying reduce it.
Yeah, okay.
It's if,
No, I'm
if we
I'm
don't
not
have
saying
enough.
reduce it, I'm concerned.
Oh, that we got enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no idea, we're closing our recycling in a way and we're trucking.
Yeah.
We don't have any idea what's gonna truck this stuff away. Nobody wants it.
Where are you taking it?
North Platte, I think.
Some, a lot of
Some
it,
of it.
nobody will even take anymore.
Most of it's going back to the landfills, the plastics and that, but cardboard.
So maybe we're all right, I don't.
It's a guessing game. It really is.
I don't know. I've got a couple of counties that
But if we
look,
can move some from general, if we have something
For
major,
safety
I
net.
guess,
Yeah.
yeah.
we're okay.
Yeah, I mean, we got $500,000 in general that we can
We're
use.
22,000 as of now for previous year.
Last year was 22.
Oh, okay.
That's what we budgeted.
Okay.
Okay, ready for health?
Okay.
Budgeted the same for the health department and health officer. Autopsy, budgeted the same. Services for the aged, I think theirs are all the same. Now, we had airport, personal services. I think a couple of years ago, you thought you were gonna have to start, paying somebody to mow or something out there?
And we are, yeah,
Okay, so we still need that in there.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, that mowing comes out of,
Now we got money on down here for,
the mowing comes out of the boards,
yeah, we got 30,000 in there for the board.
and the only thing would be Mike's. Mike gets paid
Monthly.
monthly. So I don't know whether you would drop that or not. Because you thought you were gonna have to hire, somebody outside of the county to do it, or pay them to do it.
So like snow removal comes out of, from the airport?
Well, Mike gets paid for the snow, but like fuel and stuff would come through the airport.
Okay.
When Robert quit doing it, Mike took it over, is it coming out of the same fund that we paid Robert out of?
That was out of that, out of the 22.5, the operations,
Okay.
and maybe that's where we're paying Mike. Sorry,
We ought to be paying him out of there.
yeah.
Oh, there was some problem about withholdings or something.
No, that was with Timpston, that's why, that's why, if they hire somebody to mow, other than Mike,
But Mike
the
didn't want to do it.
airport
But
was,
Robert did it contractually. Mike didn't want to do it that way. Because he
correct,
was worried about,
it comes out of regular payroll for Mike, which it would have to. I don't, you might be able to cut that 20,000. Because last year you didn't have that solved yet.
Now that we do, we could.
Because the airport board's receiving 30,000, and that takes care of the mowing, or anybody hired to do anything up there, other than Mike,
Okay.
so.
So you thinking cut that 20,000 back or cut it out or?
If they think so.
sure,
I mean, we
Okay.
haven't used it yet.
And if we have to, we could transfer from general,
Yeah,
correct?
if
Yeah,
some-
I
for
would
some
say, then,
reason.
yeah, cut that.
You're saying the operations ones or the personal?
Personnel services.
Personnel services, what do you want to cut that in half? And then next year see if we need to cut it more?
What do you suggest?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Instead of cutting it all the way out, cut it down, cut it in half.
Like I say, I don't
And
know
then
where,
after a few years, if we never use it, then get rid of it.
You good with that? 10?
Yeah, because then that'll cover his salary if we have to, so
Okay,
we still have it in there to cover it.
okay. Juvenile justice, we got a couple thousand in there, and that's one that a lot of times we don't use, and when we do use it, it's probably gonna well exceed that, so. Environmental protection, got it in at 5, and this looks like about what we've been spending. Fair, 25,000 again. Historical, we got that in at 9,500.
10,000 will cover that. Help cover that.
Okay, mental health, mental retardation, we left the same. Conservation district, 25,000, and that's what the state match is also. So you're getting them enough that they're getting all the money that they can get from K-State. Okay, child advocacy, 4,000 again. Domestic and sexual violence, we increased that to 2,000 from 1,500. Northwest Kansas Planning, got it at 3,000 again. Economic development, a little higher than it was last year, just under 3,000 higher there. Scenic byway, got it in there the same. And then Cheyenne County Food Pantry, a new item for $4,000. And then we've got reserve transfers here, airport, $30,000. And then matching funds for the public transportation, 50,232, which that's,
Yeah, and I want to clarify what I was saying earlier. The airport operations is what the airport board gets.
that was 22.
So we still need a little bit in the personnel services for mine.
Yeah. So the 10, okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be fine.
Okay. And that 50,000 is to match federal monies that's coming in, so. Okay, that is, and I've left my cash carry forward at 520,375. Now, we've brought it down just a level, not a whole lot. We're at 77.479 mils right now. Okay, road and bridge. Like I say, that went up just our taxes that were are a little higher. Our budget is a little bit higher. Basically, it looks like what our budget went up is kind of what our tax levy is going up. Our money that we're getting from the state decreased very little. You can see, that's that Special City County Highway up there in the revenue. We got 270,000 in 23. They're projecting us to get 269 in 24 and just under 269.
Okay, I got lost. Where are we at now?
Right here.
And it's on 8.
Okay.
And road and bridge is a separate fund, has its own levy, so. And the levy on that road and bridge, we were at 19.782 a year ago, the current year 19.112, and now we'll be at 19.999. So we're 19 mils plus for all 3 years, so not a significant change. We do have some pretty good money set aside for the equipment and, or for the equipment, we got a little bit set aside, 284,000 at the end of last year. But in our special road improvements, we got $1.7 million set aside. And special road improvements is basically, we can use that for anything but machinery and equipment for the road and bridge. So,
We could use it for fuel or something like
Yeah.
that if we get in
Yeah.
trouble, because
yeah.
fuel's
We can use it to build bridges, we can use it for normal operations. Repairs, anything but equipment itself. So, I know a lot of the road and bridge supervisors, they like to having that set aside, so if something comes up and there's a matching grant, they also use that for their matching funds. So. Okay, move on to the noxious weed. The noxious weed, I set at $1.5 million, which that's what we've got to have. Statute says that if we levy less than $1.5 million, then we've got to sell our chemical at 75% of cost. So that we need $1.5 million to make, so that we can price it at full price or wherever we want. And basically what I done is taken the budget, used $1.5 million, and then my other, where I adjusted is on sales and reimbursements, so, to make it come out. Okay, the hospital, that's just 6 mils. The home for the aged, that's another 6 mils. And then that pretty well covers the levy funds. Spatial alcohol, it's some alcohol money comes in from the state. Spatial park and recreation, and some alcohol money that's split off that comes in to be put into the Parks and Recreation Fund. And then the 911, that's tax that the state has collected for both cell phones and landlines, and they do an allocation. It seems like, I don't know if there's a minimum allocation, but it just seems like all the counties around are getting right at 60,000. And they're not all exactly the same, but they're very close to, I think this last year, I think 62 was the highest I've seen. And it was 60, I don't remember seeing any under 60. So. And so I bumped the, because we're getting a bigger carryover, I did raise that up a little bit, because we budgeted 164 for the current year, and so because of the higher carryover, I bumped it to 179 for 2025. Okay, and then the prairie dog, I got that in there, and they budgeted the same. And then the noxious weed capital outlay. Noxious weed is a strange, they got a statute of their own regarding transfers. They're there, and it's called capital outlay. And that actually allows them, they get to use that for equipment, plus they can use it for buildings. So, and the statute, all the other statutes regarding equipment and multi-year capital outlay for buildings and stuff are not budgeted funds, but this is required to be budgeted. So that's the reason it's in there. It's a statutory requirement. I'm not sure I really agree. A number of years ago, the budget, or the state told me that needs to be budgeted. I looked at the statute and I said, but it doesn't have the wording in there that you normally see requiring budgeting. And anyway, I talked to the League of Municipalities and they agreed with me. And the state says, oh, we're going back to the hearings on that bill, and it was specific in the hearings that we intended. The fact that it didn't get in there, we think it's still gotta be separate regulations, so we do it. Okay, the rest of what we got there is just reserve funds that show what monies that we have set aside at the end of last year. And those are non-budgeted funds, so. When we go back, and so we're still at that 77.479 mils right now. Which is, what, little less than 3 mils higher than where he was last year.
What number did you say?
77.479
Okay.
And that's
I
how
think
many
that
mills we
changed.
have out there now?
right now, yeah.
That changed because of the 10,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll bring us in just under
So
$400,000
the
more
10,000
than.
brought us down to 0.2 mils. So that was the new number, 79. Front page.
So you thinking that looking good?
Very first page. That number, that number, 77.627.
And that's the part that's published, so.
It changed to 77.479.
Now, what you decide today will set your max, because Scott then needs to take that figure and run that in his calculation that he has to kick out. And your notices and stuff. But once we get down to the hearing, which since we're going over the revenue neutral, we'd have to have the hearing with your last of the month in August meeting. And at that point, you can reduce anything, or in the general fund, move things around. If you see something that we overlooked, or if we want to lower something, we can always take it out of that budget and move it down to our cushion, that 520,000, and increase it. Or if you see something that we missed, we can take the 520,000, lower it, and push the money up above. But we can't say, oh, we want to increase road and bridge another $100,000 and lower our general fund. We'd have to go through a republication to do that. So, does that look like good for now?
Makes it hard to figure out, like, road and bridge is one of the main ones, just because of inflation, what fuel's gonna do and repairs.
And yes,
That's
and
a scary big budget.
I know it. I know it. Particularly, I remember here a couple of years ago when fuel went skyrocketing and
Repairs right now are going up